Wins for Mayo, Cork and Tyrone, and Cork and Tyrone especially easily. I was in at the Cork against Laois game and it was a bit of a beatdown. Biggest scoreline that Cork have put up this year as well, and after putting up a good performance in the Munster final against Kerry, even though they lost, it was important to not just scrape over the line against a team such as Laois. So to win 420 to 115 was quite a statement win. Brian Hurley scored 2-4, all of it coming from play, and Ronan McCarthy said afterwards that's his best performance since he came back from a couple of career-threatening hamstring injuries, so he was on great form. And up front beside him, two-man full forward line for the most part. It was himself and his Castlehaven teammate Mark Collins. He got 1-4 from play and another 4 frees as well. Luke Connolly probably didn't have his best game, missed a couple of frees out around the 45 as well. He might be in trouble for his place the next day. Michael Hurley came in and lightning pace. Paul Kerrigan came in at half time and he set up the first goal for Hurley. Went on a solo up the line, crossfield ball diagonal in for Mark Collins. He caught the ball, hand passed it back in for Brian Hurley to kick into the net first time. Really good, and Kerrigan got a goal late on as well. So after the criticism he received from the Munster final, to chase him back, that's big for him. But maybe now he'll be seen as an impact player too, because bringing in that sort of pace against the tyrant defence is a huge asset to have. Liam O'Donovan was a player that really stood out for me as well. He played wing back, a lot of turnovers, positive turnovers, that is really good. Dublin next, so even though they scored 420 and beat Laois out the gate, it's very hard to see that sort of performance keeping it kicked out to Dublin. Who'll go on Mark Collins and Brian Hurley? You'd imagine Michael Fitzsimons probably on Mark Collins and maybe Philly McMahon on Brian Hurley. But you'd hope that Cork can give Dublin a better test than what Meath did. Laois, season over, John Sugru, very quiet and probably upset after the final whistle. They'd done well. They actually owned the ball for the first 5 minutes. They were level after about a quarter of an hour, but after that their kick-out strategy couldn't get the ball out at all and just completely fell apart. The Donny Kingston scored 10 of their 115, 7 of those were frees to be fair. And it's hard to say much more about them. They got 2 promotions in a row. Championship not so good this year, so rebuild again for them next year. And Division 2 is going to be tough for them, so how that'll set them up for the championship is another thing. But then again, Cork were relegated from Division 2 to 3 this year, and now they're in the Super 8s. And no matter what happens for Cork, they have 3 big games in the All-Ireland quarter-final stages. So that should definitely help them build for next year. And there's some good runners in the team. Killian O'Hanley it looked like it might be a concussion. He was taken off and replaced by Ronan O'Toole in the first half and never reappeared. Rory Dean hurt his hand at one stage and came off, but didn't go off right away. He'll probably be okay. Good runner as well, of course. Mayo and Galway then in Limerick. I think most people who are neutral and those people who don't just kind of bask in Mayo's misery whenever that happens, the general neutral who would have watched Mayo and Galway in the past couple of years are probably delighted to see the back of Galway, because the football they play is fairly horrible to watch. I can't say I ever look forward to looking at a Galway game, and it's rarely that you don't enjoy a Mayo game. From that point of view only, I'm happy enough to see Mayo get through. Probably should have won the game by an awful lot more. How on earth that free from Shane Walsh at the end went into the net, I'll never know, and that is such a textbook Mayo thing to concede a goal when you just don't need to. What really highlighted the crazy nature of this Mayo team, who, they play great football, and then you have a situation where Keith Higgins is soloing the ball on his own end line, takes it back inside his own 14, gets dispossessed, regathers the ball, and then continues to solo the ball again. It was just like something you'd see at an under 14 game, and it's not an insult of Keith, who's a great player, it's just the sort of madness that tends to follow Mayo. Darren Cohn really good again, kicking some great points, inspirational sort of scores. James Carr, a couple of goals, the second one was unbelievable. Fionn McDonough as well. So these are 3 players who are the next generation, and I'm not saying they're all really young, but they are the next generation of Mayo football. So Andy Moore, he didn't feature, and I wouldn't imagine it's anything untoward. Didn't play well against Armagh whatsoever, taken off before half time, and when it was in the melting pot, right now he's just not the guy being selected, and it's up to him in training, whatever chance you get in training, considering the games are coming so thick and fast, to try and do something about it. Yeah, Mayo, like Kevin Walsh, this is 5 seasons in, and like this is what's been served up. I know they've plenty of injuries, so have Mayo, but they just seem like a straight-jacketed team. And throughout the second half, I was trying to figure out what is the attacking strategy here. How are they trying to get the ball in? And other than lumping the ball into Damien Comer, who was half fit and outnumbered 3-1 when he did get the ball, and obviously got turned over and had 3 fouls in his first 5 minutes, I just could not understand what exactly the game plan with the ball was. And maybe I'm silly for not spotting it, but I asked a couple of other people and they couldn't seem to figure it out either. If it was Gerald Nan talking about Gaelic football, he might make that reference to Dublin back around 2013 when he said pure constipated hurling. Well, that was constipated football from them. Like, they have a lot of really, really good talent in the team. Everyone knows who they are. I don't have to name the players out, but they seem to go into hiding as well. Maybe that's because they don't have a coherent game plan. Like, you obviously don't want a team paralysed with tactics, but if there's a good general sort of structure and idea of what you're doing, and players are given freedom from that, then maybe they could excel a bit more. But seeing a cornerback going up taking the penalty, and like, Liam Silk is a really good footballer, and I'd imagine he didn't hit it well. He's not happy with how he hit it, and maybe he normally tucks him away. But I mean, where were the marquee forwards in the team at that point? And there's plenty of them, like good kickers, guys who take frees in different positions as well. Like, where are they? Why aren't they taking that? And I mean, that to me just kind of summed up Galway. A little bit leaderless. And like the Corafin players who are unbelievable at club level and have won the last 2 All-Irelands. Like, Ian Burke's a brilliant player, ended up getting sent off. Martin Farrer, excellent player. Didn't happen for him either. And in the first half, just the shooting from crazy angles. And a couple of them went over, like Gary O'Donnell's hit an unbelievable point, right flank, right foot, tight angle. But in general, just shooting from crazy angles, so I couldn't quite get over that. And yeah, definitely not sad to see the back of them, because like, 5th season and this is all they're producing. Yeah, Tyrone, another handy win, 120 to 7 points against Cavan. That's 2 games in a row that Cavan have been well beaten by a good Ulster team. Obviously losing to Donegal in the Ulster final, beaten well and hammered in this game here. They scored a grand total of 3 points from play from 70 minutes, which is absolutely shocking. Mickey Graham will have a full pre-season this time. Well, he did have a pre-season last year, except he was focusing on Mullinachta as well, so he won't have that dual focus this time. So perhaps they'll kick on a little bit more in year 2, but that's got to be very dispiriting, losing those 2 games like so comprehensively. For Tyrone, another handy win, so they're in great shape after beating Longford last week. So they'll go into the Super 8s, you'd imagine, more or less at full health. Peter Hart got a black card, his second one this season, so that's him out of the Roscommon game. But considering the way that they beat Roscommon last year in the Super 8s, you'd imagine they'll be in good shape for that as well. Just to talk about the hurling, when I was doing the preview yesterday, the Dublin hurling team wasn't out. It has since been named, so it's Alan Nolan, Paddy Smith, Shane Barrett's in full back, so Owen O'Donnell is out. And Barrett went in full back when they needed it against Galway, when O'Donnell went off injured. Absolutely excellent, really fast player, good in the air, good in the ground, sticky marker. Cian Hendricken is named beside him as well. Then Chris Crummy, Sean Moran and James Madden is in there as well. Midfield of Sean Tracy and Tom Connolly, who played a number of positions against Galway as well when players were going down injured, and was very good. Conal Keeney, Danny Sutcliffe and Cian Boland. Boland has probably been one of the most underrated players in the championship, really good. And the other 2 guys, great puck out options among not to mention everything else. Inside line then, Oisin O'Rourke, Ronan Hayes and Eamon Dillon. So there's a nice bit of pace and trickery in that inside line. Ronan Hayes came on and set up the opportunity for Chris Crummy to score that late goal as well. Really good player, good hand on him. So they've good options in there, and I think just the option to put pace full forward, trickery full forward and a good handful forward means that Laois will always be kept guessing there. I'm not sure I'd necessarily trust that 15 to start as well. Rush isn't named there, clearly wasn't fit against Galway but stayed on the field. Haven't seen the 26, so maybe Owen O'Donnell is in there. Cian O'Callaghan's been out injured, I'm not sure how close he is. Darragh O'Connell isn't named to start, and David Tracy, who said in the media this week that he was back training, maybe he's close. Paul Ryan as well, I wasn't sure about him. But that's the Dublin team anyway, and they should go to Portlaoise and win.